Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
Hey everyone, this is Grave Cinema here, and I'm going to be doing a special video for you for today, because today is Friday the 13th, a very fun day for horror fans, and as such, I felt like I wanted to do something special, you know? And what I'm going to do is a review or summary from memory of the entire Friday the 13th franchise. This is a special Scream Factory release of all the Friday the 13th and Jason Voorhees movies. As you can see, it's very sizable. There's going to be quite a lot I can talk about when it comes to this series, but it's not going to be any script or anything. It's going to be completely from memory, so I just want to basically recap what are the most memorable moments of this series and why it's very important for horror and just why we love it so much. So, if we are going to look at, I can pull a disc out here, the very first film, Friday the 13th. This one I recently did rewatch, so it's very fresh in my memory. Basically, how the series starts, it's just a bunch of people going out to a camp. They want to start it up again after it was been closed down from some murders that took place back in the 50s. It's 1980, and we got this new set of camp counselors that are going to set everything up. But of course, somebody doesn't like that. No. It's got the reputation of being called Camp Blood now, and there's even a crazy person known as Crazy Ralph who tries to warn them that it's got a death curse, and they're doomed. Of course, these young kids can't follow the warnings, as is standard in these movies. So what happens? Well, they start to get killed one by one. And the thing about this is, we don't see the killer doing the killing. We see it from their point of view, so we don't actually know who is doing it. They keep it as a surprise reveal towards the ending of the movie. And of course, the big twist is that for most people in popular culture, they know the series of Jason Voorhees as being the killer in the hockey mask. Of course, that's not what happens in the first one. As anybody who's seen the very first Scream movie can tell you, that is a very good trivia question because it's actually his mother, Pamela Voorhees, who was the killer in this very first film. And very good representation for a female killer because you don't often see that too much. If you know where to look, you can find quite a few of those, but in the mainstream, not so much. It's always a male killer. Freddy, Jason, Michael, Leatherface, it's all very male-dominated, so it's very special to see a slasher-type film where the killer at the end happens to be a female. And that's one of the most memorable aspects of that very first film. And, you know, of course, people are dying left and right, and eventually you got just one last final girl, as it's known as. Her name is Alice. I actually remember that girl's name. And then at the very end, after, you know, she fights Pamela, and then with a machete, off goes her head. And then she gets on a kayak or canoe. She goes out to the middle of the lake, exhausted, and then we see, oh, she's safe, the swelling music, and then at the very end, one of the biggest jump scares ever done, an image of Jason, the young boy who was drowned, jumps out of the lake and pulls her down. It's a very big moment in the movie, and probably the most memorable thing about this very first film was the image of Jason pulling down Alice. Of course, it's seen to be just a dream, or is it just a dream, at the very end, but it's one of those kind of ambiguous endings that horror films like to have, so they can always tease a sequel, and, well, this film is definitely going to get a sequel, or two, or a dozen, because what started out as just a somewhat knockoff of Halloween, not really, just taking the concept of a slasher and then just doing their own thing, it proved to be highly profitable. And they make it for a small amount of money, and it earns tens of millions of dollars, and they are like, well, the studio, they're like, well, let's make more. Let's do more. And they do. Much more. So that was basically the plot of the first film. After that, we are now on to the second film, Friday the 13th, Part 2. This is the first film that sees Jason Voorhees himself as the killer. Because once again, they gotta have more counselors going to the camp to set it up. It takes place 5 years later, surprisingly. So the timeline of these films is actually a bit skewed in the future a little bit initially. And so it's 5 years later, they want to go back, they want to do more stuff, but Jason's grown up now, he's like a young adult, and now he's going to kill them one by one. Of course, in this one, Jason does not have his famous hockey mask yet. No, he does not. He just has a burlap sack on his head, as it were, and just like one eye opened. And quite a lot of people enjoy this one. It's a favorite for quite a few people. I like it. Maybe not my favorite. It's hard to pick a favorite for me, but I know I have a few of them are big favorites. This one, never really at the top of my list, but not the bottom. I'd say right in the middle for me. But it's got a great climax at the end where the final girl in this one finds the shrine that Jason left for his mother, Pamela, with her head and sweater, and then she puts on the sweater and tries to pretend to be Pamela to try to subconsciously or consciously suggest to Jason that Mother wants him to stop now. No need to kill anymore. No need to kick mama. Which, as we all know, fans of the series know, is kill mama. Not it's kick mama. Of course, everyone knows that now. And if you didn't, well, now you know. It's that famous little sound cue. And yeah, but eventually that doesn't work forever, so there's another fight at the end, and then bam! I believe it's an axe right into Jason, and now he's down for the count. And so ends part 2. Probably the most memorable kill in this one. Oh, I should mention memorable kills. In the first film, definitely Kevin Bacon with the arrow up through the bed. That was the most memorable one for the first film. For this one, for me, the one that stands out is the wheelchair kill. Machete to the face, and then he's just rolling down. Now, that one really sticks out for this one. So, yeah, that was part 2. But then that made a ton of money, so, well, can't have him be dead. Let's make him come back. And he does come back, but this time, he comes back in 3D. With a little bit of disco music. So you got Friday the 13th, part 3. And this is the one where we finally see Jason get his famous hockey mask. After killing one of his victims, he finds the hockey mask they brought, he puts it on, and thus an icon is born. And it only took us 3 movies to get there. 3 movies! 3 movies. And this one, plot, not too dissimilar from the other films. As I mentioned, it's kind of going to be the same thing for the first few of these films before they start to just, really go out there with their plots. But in part 3, again, it takes place like the day after. He's not dead. He comes back, and somehow he turned into a hairless bodybuilder in between films. Consistency in the Jasons, not so much with these. Probably not until like part 6 is when they start to get more consistent with how Jason is. But at least for this one, we now have the image of him being a big, brutish slasher killer, and he's presented as this unstoppable slasher, basically. Not inhuman just yet, just very strong and durable. And so, yeah, at the very end of this one, he gets killed yet again, or does he get killed? It's going to be a very similar theme here for a few of these. The most memorable kill for this one, for me, the one that sticks out, since it's a whole 3D gimmick, because it's part 3, and they want to do 3D, when he was crushing the man's head, and then the eye pops out right at you, that one really sticks out to me. It's the one I remember when I watched this when I was younger the most, so I'd say that's the most memorable kill out of this part. So Not much else really to this one. The biggest thing about this one that's the most memorable, Jason getting his mask. Okay? But then that leads us to Part 4, also known as the final chapter. Yeah, final my ass. But at least I would say it is the final chapter of the human Jason. Basically, this is one of the more well-regarded sequels of the franchise. This one has Jason yet again coming back to life, or being revealed not to be fully dead, and now he's going to kill yet again. Only this time, one of his victims is Crispin Glover, who very memorably has this weird-ass dance in the middle of the movie, where it's just like, just. Supposedly he was dancing to Back in Black on set, but then they dubbed it over with another song because, rights issues, as YouTubers know. And but that dance is just so out there, it really sticks with you. But also, this movie had the very first introduction of Tommy Jarvis, kind of Jason's rival or nemesis, as it were, at least for this middle batch of films in the Friday the 13th series. Played by a young Corey Feldman, very big in the 80s. And what we see is a big final confrontation where ultimately the young Corey playing Tommy finally gets to kill Jason. We see this very good Tom Savini practical effect work where the machete goes through his head and then he's sliding down. It's pretty gnarly. But that was it. They killed Jason. It was the final chapter. And most memorable kill for this movie, I'd say probably Jason himself. That's a really standout sequence for me. When it's just killing him and he's just sliding down, as I mentioned. It's a good way to finish a series if that's ultimately what you wanted to do. However, it's still making money. So we have to keep making more. But we kill Jason. What do? We can't not have a movie without Jason. Or can we? Thus gives us Friday the 13th, Part 5. A New Beginning. And in this one, we actually have a copycat of Jason. Again, there's another time jump up ahead, where we now see an older Tommy Jarvis dealing with some heavy PTSD from the last film, and he feels like he's seeing visions of Jason. But ultimately what we see is there's a death early in the film by another character, and that sets off a copycat killer who seeks vengeance, kind of like Pamela, And the mask in this one, you can see it has the blue chevrons. It's not the standard red that Jason normally has. A little bit of a tell that it's different. But this one, people, not a huge fan because, as anybody who knows the story of Halloween 3 can attest, horror fans don't like it when you take away the iconic killer in a sequel. Even if it's essentially the same type of killer, wearing a mask, killing people, machete, whatever's handy, they like to have that identity to attach with their slashers. So it was not as well received at the time. Most memorable kill for this one, I think it's got to be Dem Enchiladas. It just sticks out. It's the one guy, he's running after eating some bad enchiladas to an outhouse, and then Jason, I say. It's actually Roy in this one, the copycat killer. He kills him with this big old metal spear type thing, and it's just Dem Enchiladas. It sticks out to you, and it's probably the most memorable thing about this particular installment of the franchise, I should say. At the end, you get this image of maybe Tommy is now fully becoming Jason, kind of like in the end of Halloween 4 with a young Jamie. But of course, they never follow through with those teases. Because what do they do in the 6th one? Part 6! Jason Lives! And of course he does. However, for this one, this is when the series gets fun. Because what happens is Tommy Jarvis, played by another actor, he wants to know Jason's dead. He's having visions or dreams or whatnot, and he's like, he has to know he's dead, so what does he do? And a night when it's rather stormy, he goes to the grave of Jason Voorhees and he digs him up just to see his corpse. So what does he want to do? He wants to burn it, leave nothing. So he pours some gasoline on Jason, but he has a little tantrum, and then he takes his metal rod and he's just stabbing the corpse of Jason, and then all of a sudden, bam, with a storm lightning. And Jason's fucking Frankenstein's monster. He comes back to life by the lightning. Fucking stupid, but fun. So, he comes back to life. And of course, Tommy brought a little mask with him, just, for that catharsism to just burn with him. But no, Jason's like, well, I will take this. Well, but first he has to kill Tommy's friend. But not Tommy yet, because he has to be a hero of this film. But then he puts the mask on, and then, bah! And then there's this James Bond parody opening of it, and just from that alone you can tell, okay, they're gonna start to just go with this. And you essentially see, in this film, Jason being the undead creature that we kind of really know him to be, as this unstoppable, unkillable essence, or beast. And of course, there's more deaths, more body counts. Most memorable kill for this one. There's some good ones in this one. This is a tough E. I will say the one that's just jumping out at me, because I honestly remember it right away, it's when there's these paintballers in the woods and Jason just kind of triple kills them with one blow. Or is it two kill? Or is it double kill or triple kill? I think it was a triple kill. But Jason in the woods, pretty memorable one for me. It's the one that sticks out. But we really see the monster in this one really start to come out of him, as I mentioned. And of course, at the end, if you can't kill him, you must contain him. So you chain him up, and then you attach him to this big fucking rock or something. And then he's sent down to the bottom of Crystal Lake, trapped, dormant. And that's that. At least until we get to part 7! This one is The New Blood. And if we thought the Zombie Jason was the series letting us know it's starting to have fun, well, for this one, if you know your Stephen King, this is Jason versus Carrie. Of course, it's not Carrie, but there's this other character. I think her name was Tiffany, if I'm not mistaken. And she has Carrie-like powers of telekinesis. And so she gets to fight Jason because now he's disturbed from his dormantness in the lake, and then he's free again. Of course, this Jason, quite the fearsome look for this one. I think it's the best look. But also for Jason, the very first time he's played by Kane Hodder. Yes, he went on to play Jason again for the next 3 installments of this series. And he's probably the fan favorite Jason. But he brings this real intensity to it. Just the breathing he does. He's like, he makes him like this unstoppable force. And it's a great presentation. And for this one, he's got the chain around his neck. He's all shredded. And at the very end, when the mask gets torn from the telekinesis from his face, you see just the prosthetic face for this one. Gnarly as all hell. I think my favorite one. Probably for Jason looks, it's hard to top this one. And this one, probably the most memorable kill. I think, I'm trying to remember. Oh, jeez. What the? Who died in this one? Oh, fuck! I'm an idiot. The sleeping bag kill. That was in this one. It's... These get so numerous, it's hard to really pinpoint, wait, which kill was which? I can't believe it. Totally glossed over me. But yeah, that famous scene where he's just pulling them out. Or them. Where he's just pulling that, camper, as it were, or counselor, whatever the fuck they are now, who knows, for the sleeping bag and just whacks them right against a tree. Just one blow, one kill, one hit kill. It's the most memorable kill of this one. And how do they get rid of Jason in this one? She like telekinesis her dead father out from the lake and pulls him down in again. It's weird, but it's an ending, I guess, for this. So Jason is once again trapped down in the lake. This one also didn't have any Tommy Jarvis. It was only there for those 3 films. So, as I mentioned, you have the telekinesis girl, Tiffany, being our hero for this one. But the series is still making money. And as such, we have to make more. So what do we get? We get Part 8. But this time, Jason Takes Manhattan. Ooh. I really like this cover too, by the way. Very nice. So yeah, we got the promise of Jason actually taking his killing ways to the city of New York. And you do get some very nice scenes of him being in New York, in Times Square and such. Doesn't happen until like the last fucking 20 minutes of the movie, but it's very cool once you see it. Basically, this is known as Jason and the Boat Ride, because apparently the lake is somehow connected to the river or bay or ocean around Manhattan. I know it takes place in New Jersey, the whole series for the most part, but a lake is a lake. It shouldn't connect to any outlying body of water. But who cares? We want him to go to Manhattan. And how are we going to get him there? On a boat. For about an hour or so. In the whole film, it's just him. Once again, he's awakened by some type of electricity going through him. And he comes upon the big old boat with all these people going to whatever the fuck they're doing. Who cares? And, he starts killing them, and, of course, again, he gets another mask. You gotta have the hockey mask. It's important. Can't have him without it now. He's an icon. Yep, and eventually, they do get to Manhattan, and then, you see some fun scenes there, I will say. Plot-wise, probably not the most heavy. It's very simple. At the end, when he's in the sewer, and the mask goes off, and they kill him with toxic waste. That's shit. Yeah, Face was so much better in the 7th one. Seeing him in this one, what a letdown. But still fearsome when he has the mask, when Kane is playing him, doing his thing. Still a very good slasher type of character. The most memorable kill in this one, though, you get this boxer guy, and he's like, all right, Jason, come on, let's go. And he's just bam, 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 bam. Just, you know, left, right, giving him everything he's got. Jason being knocked back. And then all of a sudden, guy's exhausted all hell, and he's like, all right, now give me your best shot. And then Jason, one punch, bam, punches the dude's head right the fuck off. And lands in the dumpster, closing the dumpster right on top of it. Yeah. My most memorable kill for this one, definitely when he punches the boxer's head off. But yeah, for the most part, you can watch the last half hour of this movie, forget the first hour, and see all the cool bits for the most part. Unless you just want to fast forward to the kills, which, you know, I think probably by the 3rd or 4th one, anybody watching the series is just watching to see them they're just watching to see him kill people, and that's what we do. We get some creative kills, and they are always going to be numerous, I should say. But by the 8th one, Paramount was like, okay, we don't want to be associated with this anymore, even though we're still kind of making money, so They sold the rights to New Line, but Paramount kind of still owned the Friday the 13th name. So this was the last part 8, or last part, I should say. Last one titled Friday the 13th, but the character of Jason Voorhees will still live on in even more sequels. So what does New Line do once they acquire the rights? They release Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. There's that word again. Final. In a horror franchise. No. Now, this one. I don't hate this one. I don't love it. But I don't have the contempt as other fans may have of this one. Because it's a good story, but a bad Jason Voorhees movie. Basically, at the opening, we see Jason doing his thing again. Probably not my favorite look of his. In fact, I can say, yeah, not my favorite look. And all of a sudden, he's ambushed by a SWAT team, and they blow him to bits. Boom, boom, boom. Jason's dead. What, 10 minutes into this? That can't be. So, what do? They introduce a body swapping story. Yeah. So, there's this like little itty bitty slug demon-y thing, I think, if I'm remembering this right, and he's just jumping from body to body. So each person then becomes imbued with the essence of Jason and all the strength that goes with it and starts to kill one another one by one. And honestly, it's not a bad concept. It's just no good if you want to see a Jason Voorhees Camp Crystal Lake movie. It belongs in another movie with another killer. Take Jason out of this. Put somebody else in it. Say it was some other crazy killer. And this is actually a pretty damn good movie. But as a Jason movie, it's too tonally different when it comes to the series itself. I applaud the attempt to make the change. It just should have been its own thing. But it's not bad. You do get this very cool character of Creighton Duke who's introduced. He works as like this kind of good nemesis for Jason throughout most of the movie. He's hunting him down, this bounty hunter character. And I really enjoy him. I wish he could have stayed for more, but unfortunately, Jason's got to, do his thing and just kill people. Eventually, he does get his body back through some weird magic mumbo-jumbo crap. There are some fun Easter eggs in this one, though, because supposedly it's the, at the end, it's the cabin, or not cabin, but you see the Necronomicon from Evil Dead. And it's kind of saying that Jason is a Deadite. And there's a lot of fan theories when it comes to that. But most memorable thing about this movie, no matter what you watch, no matter what the first 89 minutes of this movie, it's the very last minute where they finally killed Jason with a special dagger, magic Voorhees, killing bullshit, whatever. And you see just his mask on the ground, and then all of a sudden, after a close-up, a zoom in, Freddy Krueger's fucking razor glove comes out and pulls it down while he's laughing, promising us a Freddy versus Jason film in the future. Because New Line Cinema owns the rights to Freddy, and now they own the rights to Jason. So that's the most memorable thing about this movie. For most. There are other things I do appreciate. I mean, it gets some brutal kills going, which is nice to see, because for a while there, the MPAA really fucked over this series by cutting out a lot of the gore and effects in the series, because, what, think of the children, and all that bullshit. And I know particularly Part 7 was butchered when it came to cuts, and I wish they still had them to put back in, but, fucking MPAA. But this one, it had some good effect worked, especially with that one character just kind of like melting away after the Jason swapped bodies again or something. That one really sticks out to me, where he's just like kind of melting. Probably the most memorable death kill for me. I don't know if it could be considered a kill. You know what, kill-wise, I'd say the one I remember most, the one waitress, she really put up a fight against that one dude possessed by him. And then ultimately she gets like her head crushed. That stands out to me the most, but it's a character who you really feel sad for that they die, you know? Yeah, this is not, it's not a bad movie, it's just a bad Jason movie, unfortunately. But it's worth a watch. Definitely worth it. But we are promised a Freddy vs. Jason. Are we gonna get it? Eventually. Because, you know, slasher genre kind of died out by the 90s until Scream revived it, thankfully. So, by the year 2000, or just a year or two into it, they finally released a new Jason movie. Not the one where he's fighting Freddy, not just yet, you know. They're like, we still got some things to work out with the script, so we'll do another Jason movie in between then. So, but what do? What do they do? What does this horror franchise do that it has not done yet? That it must do? Well, in Jason X, he goes to fucking space! Confession? If you've seen one of my videos I posted here before, I fucking love Jason X. I love it so much. It knows fully what it is, and it just revels in it. It's a horror character going to space, just like Leprechaun, just like Pinhead. I think eventually, if all horror franchises going long enough, they eventually all go to space. But for this one, we finally get Jason going to space. How does it happen? Well, that's all plot stuff. It doesn't really matter. But since I know this one very well, basically David Cronenberg, in a fun cameo, is like, oh, we have him captured, but he can heal and regenerate. We must research. And then all of a sudden, oh no, he gets out, and then he's killing people. And then he gets caught in a cryogenics vault, or cryo-freeze, or whatever. Just some sci-fi bullshit to get the plot going. Of course, after hundreds of years when the Earth is no longer habitable, a team comes, they discover the cryo-freeze chamber, and they bring him up, along with the person he was frozen with. And, of course, they don't know he's immortal, so they think he's dead, but when he's thawing out of his deep freeze, what brings him back to life? What brings him back to life? He senses fucking! One thing this series is known for is setting kind of like the well-known rules of a horror or slasher film where you can't drink, you can't do drugs, but most importantly, you can't fuck. No sex! No sex allowed. And it's basically the act of two other characters having coitus, and then Jason all of a sudden he sits up! I live. And then he does what is the honest most memorable kill of this movie, maybe the whole series. He takes the one scientist chick, shoves her head down in the cryo-freeze or nitrogen, liquid nitrogen, and then picks it up, frozen, and then smashes it on the table. Quite the memorable kill, I should say. A definite fan favorite, that one. But then it's then like Alien, you know? They're on a ship, and then there's a killer going after everyone. But no, maybe he just wanted his machete back. Nope. Kill, kill, kill. He must kill. And then ultimately, they kind of kill him. With this android chick. Very cool, by the way. He just kind of blows off his limbs, but then, of course, healing nanites get to him, and then they upgrade him. He becomes Uber Jason. And I love the design of Uber Jason. It's so good. And he becomes even more unstoppable, if that could be a thing. And to distract him in the end, I'm going to talk the most about this one, just so you know. They recreate in a holodeck type of thing. Camp Crystal Lake, but then they introduce just 2 holographic characters of 2 young camp counselors who are like, "Hi, do you want to smoke pot? And then we can have premarital sex. We love premarital sex." It's so fucking self-aware. I love it. And then you get a reprise of that famous sleeping bag kill I mentioned before, where he's just beating the hologram in that tree. Bam, bam, bam. It's so stupid. I love it so much. But yeah, that's Jason X. Of course, at the end, you know, they shoot him out of an airlock. He winds up on another planet. And then, you know, that's the end of Jason. But no, it's not the end of Jason movies. Because timeline-wise, as you recall, in Part 9, he was dead. So how could he have been alive to be frozen again in Jason X in Part 10? Well, let's see who brings him back to life. And when do we find that out in Freddy versus Jason. Yes! A big favorite of mine. Probably ranks right up there, top 3 at least for me. You get the big clash of the iconic characters of probably the 2 biggest horror franchises ever. Jason is brought back to life by Freddy, who wants the children of Elm Street to remember him because they've forgotten him. And if they can't remember him, he has no power. He can't kill. So he brings back, for whatever reason, Jason, because somehow he knows about him. Oh, yes, that's right. He searched the bowels of hell, and he found someone. But that's all plot. Who gives a fuck why? Don't question it too much. So he brings him back to life. Jason starts to do his thing on Elm Street. Wah, 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 kill, kill, kill. Very nice, I might add. Unfortunately, though, it's not Kane Hodder this time. Yes, our actor who played Jason since Part 7 was recasted because the director wanted somebody who was more physically intimidating, I guess, or not just... Because Kane's intimidating himself, but just a little bit taller, I guess, because they wanted that height difference of Jason and Freddy. I wouldn't give a fuck. Any real fan wouldn't give a fuck. But we got a new actor for Jason. So that is what it is. But still, he wasn't too bad. He was definitely the one I was rooting for in this one. I mean, I love Freddy, but really, he's the bad guy, and where Jason is just more of a force of nature himself. He does his thing, you know. He has no real evil intent. He just needs to kill the sinners, I guess. And, so, yeah. But, eventually, we get to that fight. It happens. Because Jason's killing off everyone, even after Freddy has the power to do his own killing. And he's like, no, there can be only one. So, he pulls Jason into his dream realm and kind of plays pinball with him a little bit. Using his dream powers quite effectively, as Freddy does. Of course, then he gets pissed off because Jason refuses to die. But that's because only by a Voorhees can he be killed. At least if you're still following the Part 9 plot. But no, once brought back, you can't really kill him because he's unstoppable. Even in the dream realm. Even though you see him bring out his inner fears, where you're like, oh, he's afraid of water. But just want to let all the fans know, that only happens in Freddy's dream realm. It doesn't happen in the real world. You know, he's not afraid of fucking water at all when he's not dreaming. Okay, so it's not an inconsistency. It's just giving Freddy an advantage. When you are in his dream world, he has power over you. And he brought out his deepest, innermost fears. I guess. It's the way it makes sense to me. I know that's kind of what they were going for. I got over it, though. But he doesn't stay in the dream world. Eventually he does wake up again. But the people who they're all killing, random victims, number, who gives a fuck, Jay, not Jay from Silent Bob. He gets sliced in half. I'd say, would that be my most memorable kill? No. Honestly, there's a lot of good kills in this one that stand out to me. I think maybe, Jason just going to town on the first victim in the bed with a machete and then cranking the bed up and then him being snapped in half backwards. I call that my most memorable kill, Yeah. Unless I think of another one off the top of my head. That was a good one, though. I like that one. But yeah, as I mentioned, they knowing Freddy is after them and they need to get him to where they can hurt him, they have the one chick Lori dream and then pull him out. And then all of a sudden, because they take him back to Crystal Lake to give him home turf, because you gotta go back to Crystal Lake, and now Jason has the advantage. And so, but Freddy still puts up a good fight. Because other normal human characters last maybe 2-3 seconds before they get killed. Freddy, though, he puts on some type of ninja move, or he's fast, he's quick, he's got them claws going at him. But Jason still lays a mean hurting on him, but Freddy, since he's kind of otherworldly, he can take a lot, he doesn't feel pain like normal people. It takes a lot more than just, a little slice here or slice there to take him out. Of course, you see Jason getting the advantage, and you see Freddy getting the advantage when he gets his machete, and then it's Freddy with claws and machete, and then Jason, ultimately at the end, he rips off Freddy's claw arm and then just smashes it through the back of his chest, through his heart, takes him right out. But he had a lot of damage done to him, so Jason's like, okay, I'm out. And then ultimately it's the human character, Lori, where she's like, welcome to my world, bitch, you beheads Freddy. And then at the very end, Jason's walking out of the lake, and he's holding up Freddy's head. Jason is our winner. He is victorious. But we can't just have it into that, so what do we have? Freddy does a little wink. A little wink to the audience to let him know, of course he's not dead. He's an icon. They never stay dead. Because why would we end the series when there's still more money to be made? However, by the mid-2000s, we don't continue franchises anymore. No. What got big during that time were remakes. So what happens in 2009? Friday the 13th. Yes, they get to a remake of the original Friday the 13th. But I'd say it's not so much a remake of the first one as it is a condensing of maybe part 2 and 3. Because Jason's your icon. Everyone knows that. They're not going to do just a Friday the 13th where Pamela's the killer. Nope. So they bring Jason back in this one, or bring him back. They start off the series again. They started off with like a 20-minute prologue. And Jason's just got his sack, but he's starting out as the big intimidating guy. And then he gets the mask, and probably the most memorable line is, what was it? Stupendous tits. Because they stay true to the series. You get tits. You get gore. Everything that makes a horror movie fun. Blood, breasts, and beefs. Probably the most memorable kill in this one. Honestly, this one didn't stand out to me too much. Because it didn't really go anyplace new. It was just kind of a recapping of the part 2 and 3. What I do remember, though, is the one girl underneath the pier, and all of a sudden the machete goes down through and right in her head. I'd say that'd be my most memorable kill, because that's the one I remember from this one. But it's not awful, I shouldn't say, you know. It's worth a watch. Even Freddy had his remake, Nightmare on Elm Street, that was very lackluster, very meh, you know. But that was that, and that was the last Friday the 13th movie. 2009. That was now 13 years ago, and we haven't had one since. Why? Well, litigation hell. You got Victor Miller, who's the original Friday the 13th screenwriter, and Sean Cunningham, the director, going on a legal battle about who owns Jason or who owns Friday the 13th, the story, and as such, because of legal issues, we have not had a new movie since that remake in 2009. Sad. But we have had some very good fan films, I should say. They even got... I think, what was it? I think it was Vengeance, is where they got C.J. Graham, who was Jason in Part 6. To star in that one, you played Jason's father, Elias. Where father's never introduced in the series movie-wise, but in like supplements, like comics or books or whatnot, they go over his backstory. As a fan film, not bad. It's a fan film. I'd say the ones I love the most are the Never Hike Alone series of fan films. There's like 2 of them. Very well done, I should say. If you want to see anything Jason related that's new, which unfortunately isn't canon, but still has that feel and essence, I'd recommend watching the Never Hike Alone fan film and Never Hike in the Snow, sequel to that. I'd seek those out. I really recommend those ones. But other than outside the realm of fan films, as Friday the 13th goes, that's basically the series. The whole series. And we love it. I love it. It was the franchise of the 80s. I mean, it was neck and neck with Nightmare on Elm Street. Quality-wise, I'd say Nightmare on Elm Street has the edge over Friday the 13th, but Friday the 13th has the body count. It's got the amount of movies. It's got that longevity, at least for the time it did. And I recommend this series to watch if you have not seen it. So that's basically the story of Friday the 13th, the franchise. It started out as just a general slasher to ride the coattails of Halloween, and then it became its own thing, which just took off with sequel after sequel after sequel. And then it birthed an icon, you know. For horror, I'd say there's always the trinity or holy trinity of icons, at least that very top tier, where you have Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and Jason Voorhees. He is up there. He is iconic. His mask is universally recognizable by anyone. And if you haven't seen this series, I recommend at least watching it through once in your life. It does get tedious at times, but if you love creative kills in your horror movies, if you're a fan of that in slasher films, I mean, this is the series to watch when it comes to that. I can't recommend this highly enough. It does go off the rails, but you kind of have to, because even I felt by part 4, this is getting redundant a little bit. So it does take risks. It does new things, and I appreciate a film series that can do that. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But for this one, this series, it's very creative in what they do sometimes. And I also recommend playing the new video game that was recently released. Friday the 13th, the game. That's a very fun one to play. No further updates can happen to it because of the lawsuit that's still ongoing, which we all hate. But this is still a great franchise. Can't recommend it enough. And that's it. I've been rambling now for probably close to an hour, just detailing how this series is. If you want to pick up this series physically, I do recommend the Scream Factory release. That is the collection, the deluxe edition. It is still available on their website, also on Amazon. It's about $100 or so, plus or minus $30, depending on whatever sale you get or non-sale. It's worth it, especially to get this series and this Blu-ray set. That's what I recommend. You do still see some other releases where Paramount released their 8 films on a set where is okay, but, you know, be a completist. Get everything. With that set, you get everything. So, yeah, that was basically me just summarizing the Friday the 13th series from my memory, you know. Wanted to let you know what stands out to me, what's the most memorable aspects. I'm sure you, viewers, have things that are your favorite of the series, your favorite kills, what's most memorable to you. I'd like to hear that, because I love to talk about horror and these series, especially this series. So, I mentioned my favorite kills for like each film. To think of one for just overall for the whole series, what my favorite kill is? Ooh, that's a toughie. Because there's memorable and then there's favorite. Ooh. Oh, jeez. It's kind of like picking your favorite child. I have no children. And that's a weird analogy. What's your favorite child? Oh, what's your favorite kill in a movie? Jeez. Oh my god. You know, just for the gimmickiness of it, and just how insane it is, I'll go with the one that I remembered the most when I was young and watching these series of movies, just here or there. It's the Part 3 head-crushing one with the eye popping out in 3D. That'll be my favorite, just because I just memorized that one the most. I remember that one the most. So I'd say that's my favorite. So, what's your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. This has been a fun recap of the series, and I can't wait to see what your opinions are on it. Alright, and as always, happy Friday the 13th. Bye.